Good morning. Let's see. Good morning for everyone that's tuning in. It's a very chilly Brisbane morning today. Okay. We'll just wait for a few more people to show up, so I don't have to repeat myself. Good morning, Manny from Perth. Well, must be pretty early at Perth. 7 a.m. Wow. Yes, I am a serial Oz bargainer. I'm on it every day, without fail. But yeah, I think I'll just start off with a introduction of myself. Yeah, my name is XINGYU. I was originally born in China, but my family migrated here quite a few years ago now. So I've basically spent most of my life here in Australia. Um, that's probably why my English doesn't have really much of an accent. Um, but because of that, my Chinese isn't so good anymore. But I can still read, write, listen. That's all good. But I certainly don't have the same competency as I do with my English. But that's okay. It's working fine. I'm currently in my mid 20s. I studied IT and business at the University of Queensland. Finished that up probably 2021, mid 2021. And without saying too much, I currently work as an IT specialist somewhere in Brisbane. Gotta keep it vague, unfortunately. But yeah, my hobbies and my interests, obviously doing this stream for fellow Atto 3 owners. Clearly the automotive technology side of the industry, I have a big interest in, especially how the brands are evolving the way that we interact with our cars, which is actually one of the focuses today of this live stream. And for anyone watching, don't be afraid to miss out. Once this live stream ends, it will be uploaded to YouTube, and I'll share the link with everyone. So stay if you can, but you won't miss out if you can't. I'm also a very big first-person shooter player. I played a lot of Counter-Strike, a lot of PUBG. I played PUBG kind of professionally for my university team when I was in uni. Won a few tournaments, won a few prizes. That was really cool. But yeah, I also play some racing games. Not really competitively, just more like casual because I really like cars. And in my spare time, I also just read about tech, read about IT stuff, cybersecurity, networking. So just I do a lot of reading in my time as well. I find it there's always something to learn, so it's never a boring day, which I think is really cool. Um, yeah, I think that's about it. I guess I'll take some questions first about myself if anyone's interested, but otherwise in about 5 minutes I'll just start going through my car and what I've done to my car, to give you guys an idea of what kind of mods and stuff that I'm working with. Good morning, Dan. Sorry if I pronounced the name wrong, but yeah, good morning from Brisbane. Yeah, so that's a good question. It's a bit hard for obviously non-Chinese people to pronounce the letter X. So my best advice, I'll type it down for you guys, is X is just the SH sound, and then so XINGYU is good. Yeah, that's what I told most people. But if there are any Chinese viewers here, it's XINGYU. The second sound for Xing and the fourth sound for Yu, which translates to star rain. Um, yeah, Chinese names typically have some kind of like very obscure meaning. For mine, it's because apparently the day I was born, the one side of the hospital was pouring around rain, thunderstorm, really big thunderstorm, but the other side was like not raining at all, completely dry, and the stars were out, so hence star rain. It's a little cringe, but that's the laugh I've been dealt with. So okay, cool. I think we'll just jump straight into my car. Let's have a look. I believe this. Cool. Can everyone see? So basically, I've just streamed my car's screen onto my computer. Hoping everyone can see this without issue. Right here. Um, that bottom left corner thing is just my PC. Just thought I'd put the camera to use at least. So, as you can see, my home screen looks quite different to everyone's, I assume. There's a few things to note here. One, I am on the latest version 1.5 OTA, so that means I'm on like 13.1.32.23 something something. You can tell because there is no altimeter anymore at the top right. Um, that was removed in the latest update, which is fine because the height measurement thing wasn't really accurate anyway, apparently. But I am looking at which APK controls that, so we can possibly bring it back for people who do want to use it. So I'll probably make a post about that in the future. Um, so my home screen is running the Year of the Rabbit theme. I believe that's this year. Is that this year? Yes. So this is the Year of the Rabbit 2023 in the Chinese calendar thing. So this is what's available on the app. By the way, just for everyone's knowledge, all the apps and software related things that I mentioned today, I will have a link in the chat or possibly in the description so you can click into it. It's just an iCloud Drive share. It'll have all the applications you see here today. So in case you want to ask where to download it, yeah, we will get to that later. Cool. So I also obviously have Apple Music, Waze, and YouTube Music. Some applications will just take YouTube Music, for example. You can't just install straight to the car because, as you know, BYD is a Chinese company, and Chinese companies don't have access to Google Play services, so they just haven't completely have not incorporated that. However, because the car runs Android to begin with in the center screen, which is very awesome. If you look at any other car in Australia, well, for now at least, it could change by this time next year. You look at Mercedes, you look at BMW, you look at Audi, you look at I don't know Skoda, you look at Volkswagen. Everyone basically runs Linux, which isn't bad. Like Linux is still a very good operating system to work with, very customizable, very flexible. But for the end user, which is people that buy it like us, Android is better for customization for sure. You can do a whole lot more things to your car than a Linux system, right? So that's the benefit. So because it's running Android, we can use something called an Android emulator. So effectively, it's an Android application that has a whole Android operating system in itself. Um, so if I just swipe this way, did I put Gbox? Pretty sure it's. Oops. I don't quite remember where I put it actually. I want to say it's in here somewhere. Cool, there it is. My bad. Cool. So these are the apps that I have for my Android emulator. So Google Keep, obviously because it's Google, you need this. YouTube, which is also run by Google, well, needs Google Play services rather. YouTube Music. I found Discord to work a little bit better in here. You can try installing it straight to your screen, that's fine too. But I prefer to install it within an emulator. Actually, there's also another benefit, which I'll talk about later, that you might want to consider if you're thinking, you know, do I want to install the app to the home screen straight away, or do I want to use an emulator like this? So, Apple Music emulator as well. You have to use Apple Music in here, I realized, if you want to run it in portrait. In horizontal mode. If you install it straight to the screen, it only runs vertical, which kind of sucks. I'll just make it bigger for everyone. Right here, cool. Yeah, so that other benefit I mentioned is apps that you have in Gbox can run in split screen, which is really, really cool. So for example, I'm not sure what I can use here. I don't want to use Waze. I'll just use both my music apps actually. So if I do this and click down here, so if you install an app straight to your home screen, you might not have the option to run it in split screen. So, alright, so this is one big benefit of running apps through Gbox. However, I now have to mention one key limitation of Gbox. So, if we go home, go back into here, go back to here. So Gbox, when you install apps in here, these icons only appear inside of Gbox, which means, for example, if you want to open an app you installed, you'd have to go find Gbox every single time. Ooh, sorry. And open it that way, which is kind of annoying. However, Gbox has thought of this limitation. So if you go onto their website, if I just open DuckDuckGo here, go search for Gbox official. So I recommend you use DuckDuckGo. You can use, like, I think Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome as well, but why do these all look so dodgy? Let me just find it on my computer and just copy it over. Gboxlab.com, here we go. So, no, I don't want that. So if I go this, cool, excellent. Gbox Lab. So this is the emulator that I choose. Now, you don't have to use Gbox, okay? There's dozens and dozens of other emulators, but I just found that between developers that even talk to the community and a very active social, I guess, presence, I think this is my go-to emulator of choice. So as I mentioned earlier, if you want to install apps within Gbox, the icons to open such apps are stuck in Gbox, which is very annoying, which means if you want to open the app, you have to go into Gbox and then press the app. However, if you go to this app availability section, I'm not sure if you can see my cursor. So Gbox has taken some of the most popular apps out there. So obviously Amazon, Apple Music. I haven't tested Amazon Prime Music, so I don't know if that works. Disney definitely does not work. I'm still working on that. I haven't tested Duolingo, Dropbox, or Facebook. Google, I found that you don't have to install it in here. You can, but because once you install it in here, it only affects applications within Gbox. It's kind of pointless. But you do need to install the standalone Google app, this one, to your home screen directly if you want voice search to work for things like Waze and Google Maps. So that's one thing you do have to do. You have to install Google if you want to use voice. Google Maps works through here. Haven't tested Google Drive or Meet. News, haven't tried that. Haven't tried slides, photos. Haven't tried a lot of things here. Twitter, Twitch works. Uber works for those people that drive their BYD Atto 3 as an Uber. You'll be pleased to know that you can use the Uber app here. It should work. If there are any issues, once again, just tag me in a comment or something, and I'll try to figure out why it's not working. I haven't tried Uber Eats, and obviously I've tried YouTube Music. They work fine. Haven't tried any of these apps down here. Haven't tried those. But yeah, so there is a reasonable selection, and I think for most people, you'd want to use Netflix probably. So this just installs straight to the home screen. You can't use the latest version of Netflix. That doesn't work. You have to use an older version. Once again, all of this will be in the, link that I'll post at the end of the video. It'll have all of these apps and more, so you can just tour around and install it and play with it. Get used to, how all this works. So you won't miss out. Don't worry. So Netflix works quite well. Obviously, when you're actually in your own car, it won't lag as much as it is right now. It's just because I'm streaming the car to my computer, which is why it lags. So, yeah, as you can see, Black Mirror, cool, new season. Let's watch it. Although I'm not sure if this is gonna work. So, oh, cool, it works. Excellent. Yep, even on stream. But obviously, it's a bit laggy because, as I said, I'm trying to stream it to my PC, so the performance is not great. But yeah, so you'll be glad to know that Netflix works. Now I'll talk about the theme. So unfortunately the app is in Chinese before you install it, but I believe which one is it? I believe it's this one. No, it's this one. So once you install it, it'll be called various themes. But actually, because our cars are set to English, once you go in, it'll be English. So it's pretty cool. The names for the themes are in Chinese, but I mean, you can look and see for yourself whether you like it or not, right? It's not. You don't need it to be in English to determine that. You can press around, just have a look. So there's a bunch of different textures you can install. Maybe I'll try this one. So this stands for white gold, which is usually like platinum. We don't have a word for platinum in Chinese. This is white gold, I think. Or yeah, I could be wrong if there's any Chinese viewers on this live stream. I'm just going to get some water. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. If anyone has any questions on anything, just please post it in the chat and I'll do my best to respond. So yeah, once this is downloaded, you just press set. It'll apply, maybe do some restarts. And yeah, look at this. Wow. So I'm currently in dark mode, which is why it looks like this. But in light mode, it'll look like what the image said. Hi Jackie. Yes, I am Chinese, but I prefer to speak in English. It's just easier for me. 但是如果你说中文的话，我也会懂。 。 。 。 。 So some of them are a bit buggy. Obviously, as you can see here, the icons kind of don't sit in the border, which is a little awkward. But yeah, just have a play around. Once again, this various themes app will be in the link later, so don't worry. Let's have a look. Just change it back to. Just change back to this one. Oh, excuse me. So as you can see, top right is day or night, bit difference, but I keep my screen on dark mode all the time. So, but yeah, so this is the themes app. It's got a weird Chinese name to it, but I might rename it to English for you guys so you don't get confused. Let's have a look. BYD. Oh no, it's called BYD Theme Store. So yeah, should be pretty straightforward. Cool. Let's see. Next on the list. I would recommend installing something like a app manager, which is this thing. So this allows you to install apps. Whoops. Let me see why this screen disappeared. Kind of bugged out. Okay. There we go. We're back. Basically, you can use this to install apps, uninstall apps, check app settings, check like configurations of apps, compatibility issues, a whole bunch of things. And actually, you can use this to uninstall default apps. For example, you might have noticed on my home screen I don't have radio. I don't have radio. I don't have Media Center. I don't have a bunch of things that I don't use. Spotify is the one that I uninstalled. Yeah. I'm not sure why it says slow, so we'll just skip that. But yeah, App Manager, pretty cool app. Can you customize the theme? Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, you just go into this app called, it'll be called BYD Theme Store.apk. You just sideload it to your car using the USB method or the wireless ADB method, and then inside you can. There's only about 20 or so themes, but I'm sure there's one flavor for everyone. Yeah, so plenty of themes. Cool. You can also install some EV charging stuff in here, but do note that because there is no Google Play services, they can't track your location. So even if you go into it, you can only see a list of things. You can't see the map, which kind of sucks. So this is more gimmicky than anything. Oh, and it's timing me out, so that's cool. But you can still install it. It kind of works, yeah. Utilities. Yeah, not much here. Oh, okay. So for Chinese viewers, you can install the Chinese voice assistant app. I'm not sure if it's that one or the other one. So BYD Assistant is the one for the Western market. This one is the Chinese one. So once you go into it, this won't mean much for a lot of people here, but basically, if you can ask the BYD Assistant to one, turn off the pedestrian warning sound. So this is a software change. So with this, you don't have to unplug the cable every single time, which is pretty cool. You can also tell BYD to turn off your daytime running lights. So for example, if you parked, I don't know, out in the woods at night and you want to turn everything off, but you don't want the screen to be super bright and you just want DRLs off, you can tell Xiaodi here to turn off DRLs. Yeah. Fluctuates, please. Yeah. So Firefox browser, because it's a browser, right? It uses Google Online Services. That works fine. Yep, that's fine. But I find that if you go into the browser to do it, you may as well do it on your phone, right? So, but yeah, that is a good point actually. Yeah. So you can certainly use PlugJet in the browser. Yeah. Oh, my keyboard. So if I go into Aurora Store, show everyone my keyboard. So the default keyboard in the car, I find is pretty terrible, right? You can't do multiple languages. You have no number key row. It's pretty bad. So I installed Google Keyboard. So obviously, so you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can also have different languages: English, Chinese. Right, Sunrise. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Once again, this APK will be in the description for people to install. So highly recommend you do that. If you need to type multiple languages, I've got WeChat in here. That's for my family and friends. I use Discord in here as well. That's once again for friends. So I think it's pretty convenient to have 2 languages. What other apps? So I guess we'll just go through what you need to sideload. Let me pull up the instructions here. So if I just go, oh jeez, let me just do a picture. I think it's probably easier. Okay, so if I just do this, cool. Okay. Cool. So this is what's known as the USB method. Effectively, because the car runs Android, there is a mechanism to install applications to your car. Don't mind the password section here. That's completely wrong for version 1.5 OTA. It's a different password that I'll put in the chat. So basically, you just get a USB and you format it to FAT32, or you can do exFAT, EXFAT. That's fine as well. Inside the USB, you want to make a folder called third-party apps. Make sure it's APPS, not APP. Obviously, don't use quotations. And then inside that folder, you can do whatever apps you want. So I'll do a mock-up right now, so I can show you guys what it looks like. So if I plug in my thing, and then I do like, so if I delete that, third-party apps. Okay, so let me just try and cool. So if I just show you guys this, so this is my USB basically. So it's a SanDisk USB-C drive. Yeah, literally you go inside and you make a folder called third-party apps. Very straightforward, very simple. And inside of it, you just put all these APKs, right? Add card APK, whatever. And I recommend downloading it from a reputable site. I typically use APK Mirror or apkpure.com to download my Android APKs. I would recommend using something like VirusTotal or an equivalent to check each file for viruses, even though you download it from a trusted source, because you never know, right? Things slip through, so it never hurts to be safe. Gene Davidson says, that's curious that the Chinese assistant allows the DRL and AOS to be turned off. So does that mean the option is actually already coded in the firmware? Yes, absolutely. So I wouldn't call it firmware per se, because so basically these things are plugged into a particular pin on the motherboard layout for our infotainment computer, right? Basically, so the thing that runs the Android OS, that particular hardware device, has a particular port that these speakers and lights plug into. And so when you use the English voice assistant to try and turn it off, it's not a firmware lock; it's more of a software lock, as evident by using the Chinese assistant to make it work. So the Chinese voice assistant probably just allows, or rather, the software allows the Chinese voice assistant to interact with those ports to turn off power or disconnect it or block it or whatever. Whereas the English BYD assistant just doesn't have that access. So it could very well be firmware, but I don't believe it is. Regardless, it does mean that someone could modify the English version of the BYD assistant to allow it to have these functions. That's for sure. Yep. But yeah, it's a very interesting discovery that I made. But yeah, so once you, sorry, let's just go back to the steps real quick. So back to the steps here. Once you go and make that folder and put all the apps in, you are now ready to move the USB from your computer or wherever to your car. So you want to make sure you're using the USB-A port. I probably should have mentioned it clearer here. The data port is the USB-A port at the front. So at the front, as we all know, below the wireless charging pad, there's a USB-C, an SD card slot, and then a USB-A port. So you have to use the USB-A port. The USB-C port is only for power; it's not for data. So once you plug the USB-A in, your screen should pop up asking you for a password. The password, if you are not on the version 1.5 OTA, the password is 2021 1231. If you are on version 1.5 OTA, let me just type it down for everyone. 1.5 OTA password is BYD 16165F, I think that's the password. I will have to check my notes again, but I'm pretty confident that's the password. So once you put the password in, your screen will unlock basically into the USB, and then you can just tick some boxes and install the apps that you want. So it's very, very straightforward. Now, using this method, what I will recommend iPhone users to do is install something called ATV Tools. So it's this app, this one here. So what this allows you to do is use your iPhone to connect to your car. So if you're familiar with USB debugging or wireless ADB debugging, this is basically that, but doing it from an iPhone. So it's very, very cool. I'll just give everyone the link to what ADB is and what's all this about. This is from Google. Basically, it's a mechanism to allow you to connect a device to your Android device, so you can troubleshoot it, so you can run some tests to debug it, basically, right? It's pretty useful. It's usually designed for Android to Android connection or Windows to Android, but someone has obviously figured out a way to connect it from iOS, which is pretty cool. If you're using an Android phone and you want to connect it wirelessly, they can use something like Easy Fire Tools. Easy Fire Tools is a bit simpler to use because basically it allows you to select already installed applications on your phone and push it to your car, if that makes sense. Whereas on the iPhone version, ATV Tools, you have to first download the APK because obviously you can't install APKs on an iPhone. You have to download it first and then you push it to your car. So slight mechanical differences in how these two methods work, but yeah, still. So basically, instead of using the USB method, which I actually find to be quite cumbersome, you can just download the apps to your phone, connect to your car, install it that way. Now, connecting to your car, you need to use I believe you need to be on the same Wi-Fi network first of all. Same Wi-Fi network, yep. Because if you don't do that, obviously your phone and car can't see each other. So that's something to be aware of. yeah, I think that's all there is to say about connecting with your phone. Does anyone have questions on this, or any confusions, any further questions they want to know about this? Cool. Let's move on. What else have I got here? Oh, let's talk about some other mods that I've made to my car. So, if I just bring back this one. So alternatively, you can install an APK called Aurora Store, which is what I showed you earlier, actually. So this is basically a Google Play Store clone. Obviously, Google Play Store doesn't work here because we don't have Google Play services and all that. So this is what I would recommend people to use. You can install a whole bunch of things in here. Can't think of one at the moment, but basically like Waze, for example. That's probably something most people will use. So if you do Waze, I probably need to update mine. Yep, I do. Press update. It's downloading. Estimating. So yeah, this is effectively a Google Play Store, but as you can see, it works very well. You can also use it to. So you'll get this warning when you try to sideload applications. Usually when you press OK here, it'll give you a warning saying like, "Oh, for the safety of something, please don't install third-party apps." To get around that, you will need to install something called Package Installer Unlocked. So basically, that's so this warning is actually an Android application that the firmware triggers when you try to install something. So you do have to install the warning version that allows you to install apps, if that makes sense. So once again, it'll be in the link at the end of the video. So just press OK, press install, and once this update becomes the word open, you'll know that the update is complete. So might take some time depending on how big it is, depending on your internet, whatever. So just give it some time. Oh, there you go. So now it's done. Cool. And if you want to bulk update some apps, there's a button at the bottom here. If you go back, updates. So as you can see, I've got Google, DuckDuckGo, ChargeFox, Speedtest, Streamlabs, TouchTask, and WeChat. I'll update it at another time. It'll probably slow down the stream too much. Now there is one interesting application, which is this one. It's in Chinese, but basically it's BYD Button Assistant, basically. So what this does is it allows you to customize the buttons on your steering wheel. Not every single button, unfortunately, just the media buttons. So we're talking the volume wheel, the next track, previous track, the unmute button, the mode button. What else is there? The voice command button. You can even change the screen rotation button to something else if you want, which is pretty cool. Now it is all in Chinese, so I have been trying to convince the developer to make an English version, but unfortunately he's not willing to do that because he has no English skills. I even offered to do some translation, but that was also pushed back. So unfortunately, as of right now, this is stuck for, I guess, people that can read Chinese only. So that means I'll just quickly go over it just to give people an idea of what's possible at least. Possibly in the future I'll make a dedicated video just really translating everything and getting everyone a good understanding of what's going on. So so this one reads the Bluetooth button. So I believe it's the phone button on the steering wheel. I'm not too sure. I haven't used it because I wasn't too sure what it was. This is the mode button. So that's that like MODE button on your bottom right of the steering wheel, I believe. This word stands for single. This word, two of the same characters, stands for double. So single press, double press, right? So at the moment I have single press binded to YouTube Music and double press binded to Apple Music. So instead of trying to touch the screen, swipe around, whatever, I just press the mode button once or twice for music, which is very awesome. Pretty cool. This one here, this stands for the voice activation button. So this is the top right button. I have it, so single press is default, double press is default, long press, so this is long press. This opens the Waze app. So once again, instead of trying to swipe around, I just press and hold the mic button, and it opens Waze, which is pretty cool. And for this one, this is the mute button. So this is when you push in the volume scroll mute button. So instead of muting the sound, I've changed it to play and pause. So obviously when you mute the sound, your music is still playing. So it's like, well, that kind of sucks, right? So instead of doing that, I binded it to play and pause. So instead of muting the music, you actually pause it, which is, I think, a more intuitive experience, I guess. Yeah. You can also make it so when you put it into drive, into park, neutral, reverse, it can play a sound effect. I find that a little bit tacky, a little bit cringe, so I don't do that. You can also bind, like putting it into drive, into park, or even when you start the car, you can bind those actions as well. So I would recommend people to bind, like, if you start the car and you want to open the Waze app automatically, or if you want to use the YouTube Music app automatically, then probably just do it here, right? So, yeah, so that's pretty cool. I don't use this function to auto start YouTube Music, so I have my car set to start YouTube Music because that's where most of our music is. I use Automate, which I'm sure some people here might know. Where is Automate? Can I go back? Oh, it's being a bit slow. Automate, this one, sorry, it's right here. Oh, it's very slow. Cool. So automate, yeah. So this is basically like a scripting app. You can make it so it runs when the car starts, and then you can make it run a few commands. So I have a single app auto start basically. If I just go into here, so I have it set to when the car starts, when it detects that the Android screen has booted successfully, start YouTube Music basically, and then it just loops. So that's pretty cool. You can change it to whatever you want. You can change it to Waze, YouTube, Netflix if you want, DuckDuckGo, I don't know, Google Maps, whatever else you might want to use. Uber, even if you're an Uber driver, right? That'd be pretty cool. I also have this Automate app on my phone. So I have a old Android phone that I leave in the car. It's got a 500 gig Optus data SIM plan in it. I share this with my actual phone, my iPad, so it's a pooled data share kind of thing. And using scripting here, basically I say to the phone, okay, if you are charging, which is obviously when the car starts, because it's always plugged in. When it's charging, please turn on mobile data, please turn on hotspot to give both my phone, my real phone, and the car internet on the go. That's pretty cool. And then I also said, if you stop charging, please turn off Wi-Fi hotspot to save battery, obviously. Turn off Wi-Fi hotspot, turn off cellular data, turn on battery saver, turn on airplane mode, etc., etc. So this ensures that as soon as I get in the car, I can have internet always, which is pretty cool. I will post that script probably as like a little file at the end of the video or somewhere in the link or in the description, sorry, so people can copy and use it for themselves. Yeah, it's very useful to have this kind of functionality, because as we all know, we only have 2 gigs of data per month, which is a pitiful amount. That's like, I don't know, a few dozen songs. If you go on Waze and you navigate from Brisbane to, I don't know, Sunshine Coast, that probably use up all your data, right? So it's not great. And I think I'll take this opportunity to walk through some settings in the settings app, sorry, and talk about some lesser known options that people might not be aware of. Number one, I saw yesterday someone mentioned how do you turn off the keyboard sound? So that's a good question. So it is unfortunately buried pretty deep. I believe it's in apps. It is not in apps. It is in more, sorry. So if you go more, and then you go, oh, I've already changed mine to Gboard, so this doesn't matter too much anymore, but the default app. Oh. Let me turn that off actually. I thought it was here, but oh, default IME, sorry. So you have a few options here. So default IME. So Android keyboard AOSP is what the default keyboard is, I believe. And so once again, I'll just start from the beginning because I got lost, kind of lost. So you would go into settings. You would go into system settings. You would go into apps. Sorry, more, not apps. You would go into Android keyboard brackets AOSP. This is assuming you use the default keyboard, right? In here, and then you go to preferences. There we go, right? Sound on key press, on or off. So yeah, that's basically all that. I use Gboard, so let's go back. With Gboard, obviously you got a ton of more customization, which is really cool. Number one being languages, right? If you need to type Korean, you need to type German, type French, right? You can do whatever you want. So there's preferences as well, right? You get number row, language key switch. You can even change the keyboard height, obviously sound press, pop up. I have all of these turned off because I don't want annoyances. And the best part of Gboard is you can do swipe typing. I'm not sure if I can demonstrate that well, considering how laggy this is, but we'll just give it a go here. So if I just try and type Google, so I press G, I hold Google, yeah, it doesn't work well. Oh no, there we go. Google. See, so this is one benefit over the stock keyboard as well. So instead of trying to tap Google, you can just go G, swipe, swipe, swipe. So that's a lot easier to use on the move, I think. And because it uses Google swipe detection, it's actually quite accurate. So that's really cool. So back in the settings. So that's, yeah, how you change keyboard stuff. I recommend checking disable auto start. You can also access this on your home screen via icon. Basically, it's a little ironic. So whatever is toggled on doesn't start with the car, if that makes sense. So if you want things to start with the car, make sure they're off in this setting. So we're talking like, obviously I don't want Twitch, I don't want speed test. I don't usually use Waze unless I'm navigating to somewhere that I've never been before, so I turn that off. But yeah, so you got Google Services Framework. That is something I installed to test. It doesn't work well, so I probably need to uninstall that. Obviously, I do want to start Automate for the scripting, so that's pretty important. And obviously the button presser help thing. Next DNS is just a little ad block thing that I use. Not very useful on Android screen because there's not much ads anyway, but if you want to block ads on the browser, for example, or if you want to use an application that you know has ads in it, you might want to check out NextDNS. I'll leave a link in the chat right now. NextDNS.io. Where is my... Oh boy. This one. Cool. You do have to pay for it, although if you VPN to Turkey or something, you can get it for like, it's like $4 a year. So I use this. I have NextDNS on my phone, my laptop, my PC, my car, everywhere basically that connects to the internet. It works on Apple, Windows, Android, anywhere. So highly recommend you check it out. Spend some time to research it. It's pretty cool. Cool. So next we'll move to software. I mean, everyone's kind of knows software. Software details view. Yeah, I'm on 13.1.32.2304140.1. So this is the latest version of Atto 3 software right now. Yeah, there's not really much else to see. You can spam the white text, like if you tap it. I'm not gonna do it here because it crashes the stream. So basically, if you tap it, you can get taken to a secret menu. Don't change settings that you don't know what they do, because you could screw up your car. Display, this is obviously pretty straightforward. Yeah, I don't think there's much to say here. Pretty self-explanatory, I think. Yeah, audio. I'm no audiophile, so I just leave it on what I think sounds best. But yeah, I don't use guidance volume because I prefer to just look at the maps. And internet, I have cellular data off because I have Wi-Fi on 24/7. Cool. So advanced driving. There's not much to say here. It's just really a matter of personal preference. I have LDA changed to warning only because I find prevention to be, because as we all know, the lane support system is quite finicky. It's quite sensitive. So I found it on prevention, it's kind of steering the car too often. But I'd just like to have it on warning, just to let me know that hey, I'm a bit too close to the lane. And the steering wheel vibration, I use vibration or sound because I hate that beeping noise. So that's cool. Traffic sign recognition, I don't think there's much change here. The sensitivity, basically this talks about how much over the speed limit before it starts blinking. Yeah, it's kind of pointless. Active safety, probably don't change any of this. Yeah, don't turn that off. And parking sensors, cool. So when you look at the 360 camera, here's a few things to note. So instead of using these buttons, oh, I hope it loads. So instead of using these buttons, oh, it's very laggy. What you can do is you tap around the car here. So for example, obviously I'm looking at front and top down. If I press the right side, like so, if I tap on the screen here, sorry, it's a bit laggy. See, it changes to the right. So you don't have to use these buttons because obviously when you're trying to reverse or something, it can be a bit confusing. Trying to understand, like it's not labeled very well. So what you can do is literally just tap around the car. Now it's not as laggy as in real life because I'm trying to do it on stream. It's kind of laggy. Yeah, it's very laggy actually. So, and if you go to portrait mode, so I'll change it to portrait mode here. So in portrait mode, you can obviously see a few more angles at once. So front, left, and top down. So perhaps this is better. Okay, it's way too laggy, but I think everyone understands the point. And if you want to see transparent under your car, just tap on the car itself. It's usually one tap, but it's black right now because I haven't moved the car, so it's not overriding the data. So that's pretty cool. Let's back out of here. Wow, it is very, very slow. Cool, so that's that. New energy, I think it's all pretty self-explanatory. My car is stuck on standard regen. I can change to high, but it's the same thing, so I don't know what's happening on. It doesn't bother me because I typically use the lowest possible regen anyway. One level above no regen, because I prefer that natural engine braking feel. That's the personal preference. Smart charging, pretty self-explanatory. Consumption graph. Oh, I've been using a bit more energy recently, actually. Yeah. bit colder. Warming up the car in the mornings. I usually start work quite early, so I can finish early, beat all the traffic. That's really cool. Yeah, so vehicle settings. This is what I use. Comfort parking is cool. So what this option does is, you know how when you're coming to a stop at a traffic light or a stop sign or something, at the very last moment before you stop, it kind of jerks a little bit because when the brakes really clamp down, right? So with comfort parking, it uses software to intelligently release the brakes just ever so slightly at the very last possible moment to make sure the car comes to a smooth stop. So that's really cool for people that suck at braking and you don't want people in your car feeling nauseous if you have like passengers that, you know, Gene Davidson says, I think ISLI is mislabeled. I think it should be ISLC offset. Terms using TSR. Possibly. That's a good point. I think that could also be true. I haven't really tested it myself because I have the other setting turned off. I have this setting, yeah, ISLC, because so basically what this does is, for example, you're driving on a 60 road and then you go to 100 road. If you press set again, it'll try and set it to what the traffic sign recognition thinks the car is at. Now that could be beneficial, but I found it to be quite buggy sometimes. For example, if you're driving past a roadworks that's on the road parallel to you, so not for you but for the road next to you, but the car thinks it's going 40, and if you accidentally hit set, your cruise will suddenly drop to 40, which is kind of dangerous. So I have it turned off. But I think G makes a good point that this possibly controls that. I haven't really tested it myself. Possibly it's placebo, but yeah. With that said, I'll probably change that to 0 then. But my ISLC is turned off anyway, so it doesn't really affect my car. So that's comfort parking. Ambient light, I think it's pretty straightforward. Music rhythm currently doesn't work with anything else other than Bluetooth music, which is kind of annoying. But I'm sure they'll fix that. Yeah, that's right. Sometimes it shows 110 or 80. Yeah, that's right. So it's, yeah, pretty dodge. On the Chinese version of the settings app, you'll have a button down here to turn on and off DRL. We don't have that function obviously because it's not supported for us. Intelligent welcome light is basically when you walk to the driver's side door, the LED light below the mirror will shine to show that, hey, the car knows you're here. So that's pretty cool. Mirrors, auto fold, 40 kilometers. Yeah, that's right. So I usually I set cruise control to like 2 or 3 Ks over the limit. So in a 60, I do 63. And then in a school zone, if you press set, it'll drop that to 40, even though it's like, I don't know, midnight. So yeah, it's not great. AC, you can change it to reduce fan speed during a call. I don't really use that because I find that you may as well just turn it off, because if you're really, really hot and you need to cool down, but this fan speed is reduced, it's, yeah, pretty terrible. But test it for yourself. There's a problem that some people have complained about with recirculation and fogging up and stuff. So if you live in a really cold climate, you might want to turn this setting off. So basically this automatically changes the recirculation mode back to interior only after a certain amount of time. So I use that because I haven't experienced fogging, and I'm also quite sensitive to bad air quality, so this is a pretty important thing for me. Remote controlled air conditioning timer, obviously personal preference, completely personal preference. Auto AC mode, I highly recommend you use comfort. In eco mode, I find that it doesn't work all that well, as in it doesn't cool or heat the cabin very well, so I recommend using comfort. And purification just means, you know, if the inside of the car is like PM, I don't know, 50 or something, it'll try and get rid of that as soon as possible. So I also recommend leaving that on. This is a little known fact. You can actually change how high you want the boot to open. So for example, if you are someone that's really short and you can't reach the close button at full height, you might want to consider this. Or if you live in a garage with a relatively strict height ceiling, you want to use this as well. So I leave 100, but yeah, that's pretty cool. There's a bunch of interactions you can have with your smart key. So you can press and hold the lock button to close windows. You can press and hold the unlock button to open the windows. Auto close windows after locking. This also affects the sunroof and the sunshade, which is why I've turned it off, because I prefer the sunshade to be opened. But yeah, you can turn it on if you want. Yeah, I'm not sure what the difference is here, but and auto lock while driving is pretty self-explanatory. A lot of people complain that the car talks too much. Like, for example, please turn on low beams, or you're going to the speed limit, or whatever. So you go into settings, vehicle settings, notification, reminders, settings. So in here, you got a bunch of options. I would recommend leave the first one on if your car has the dreaded 12-volt battery issue. This is probably pretty important. This, I believe, it's when the door is unlocked, but it's opened. I think it's a bad translation. When you drive, when someone's seatbelt is not on, when you leave the vehicle but it's in drive or something. This is just that beep. So if you put the car into drive, you come to a stop and you open the door, the car will automatically put it in park along with the beep. So that's pretty cool. Low key power, I haven't experienced that yet, so I don't know what it sounds like. I turn off the night lights. So this is just a really bad translation of alert of turning on low beams. So as you know, the car has automatic headlights. So if you drive in a tunnel but your headlights are off, the car will warn you to turn it on. It's like, yeah, I turn it off. It's pretty annoying because every single time you drive under a bridge, that happens, which is pretty cool. And if you're driving without the key, so I think that's pretty important too. Otherwise, yeah, there's everything else here is pretty self-explanatory. I don't use navigation, so actually I should turn that off. And finally, vehicle health. Yeah, I'm not too sure what to do here. So a lot of people wanting to put the wipers up to clean it. Obviously you can't do it because it hits the bonnet, right? So what you do is you put the car into service position. I might show you guys now actually. So if I turn it on, and then I turn on the, let me just rotate the screen back. So if I turn it into wiper position, and then I turn on my camera, hopefully you guys can see that the wipers are on. So as you can see here, the wipers are up, yeah. And then so if I put it back into, oh wait, I'm already in settings. So if I turn it back to here, you'll see that the wipers are, see, they're not there anymore. So put it into wiper position before you want to bend it out. That's how you clean it. Yeah. But make sure you turn off the service position before you. Make sure you put the wiper blades back onto the glass before you turn this off. Otherwise, it'll slam right into your bonnet and possibly damage the paint. So that's just something to be aware of. I think that's about it, to be honest. There is also a BYD store that you can install. It's another standalone application. This is more designed for Chinese cars. So for non-Chinese people, unfortunately, this is probably quite useless for you. You can install maps. You can install drama watching stuff. Some games even. Yeah, not incredibly useful, but for me, I use WeChat. So this is what I use between my family and friends. Yeah, there's not much else here, unfortunately. But it's still something good to know in case you ever want to pull up Google Translate and play around with this. Let's see. I don't think there's anything else. Right, to get that button reassigner thing to work, you need to install Touch Task and just approve all the things. Magisk is what you need to use to root your device. So I'm in the process of fine-tuning the rooting process for the Atto 3. So what is rooting? So basically it's a... If anyone using iPhones here are familiar with jailbreak, it's effectively jailbreaking but for Android phones. It allows you to change a bunch of settings that you otherwise wouldn't be able to change. I'm confident with rooting. You can then change out the SIM card but still have app functionality. So as we all know, if you take out the Telstra SIM and put in your own SIM, the app will stop working. But I'm researching a way to get the app working even with your own SIM card. So yeah, only time will tell how that works. Yeah, I think that's about it really. I obviously don't use any of these because yeah, I prefer just to have apps on the home screen. I think it's a lot easier, a lot cleaner, a lot smoother. Most importantly, you don't need to use your phone at all, right? So I think that's the coolest part. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it with software. Now I'll talk us through some hardware changes I've made. So if I can just doesn't work very well. Let's have a look. Display capture. Cool. If I can just walk everyone through. One second. If I can just. Bit buggy. Okay. So I just have a gallery of things that I use on my car. How do I do this? So I want display capture. Cool. I think this is what everyone needs to see. Cool. So just some stuff. So tires. Recently I'm using the Michelin Primacy 4 STs. Doesn't say ST here, but it's in 235/50 I18 dimensions. So it's a little bit wider. The thickness is roughly the same, I think. If we do some quick maths right now. Yeah, so 118, 117. So the speedo is still pretty accurate. If you thought that the Atto 3 was a quiet riding car, with the Michelin Primacy 4s, they're even quieter, which is hard to imagine. On the highway, it is absolutely incredible. You could whisper to people next to you, and they can still hear you. So it's very, very awesome. Braking distance is probably the biggest change. That's the more important for me. I've taken my Atto 3 and a family member's Atto 3 to a closed road, also a racetrack. So I've done some proper testing. I spent a whole weekend on this. Look, the braking performance on stock tires is just, it's not acceptable for this class of car. Yes, it's an EV. Yes, it's heavy. But if you look at the MG ZS or basically any other EV, even like the really shitty Mazda MX-30, their braking distances are a tick over 35 meters. Now that doesn't mean much, but for this particular car, the average was over 40 meters. So you gotta think, at 100 kilometers per hour, you're taking an average 5 more meters to stop than everyone else. 5 meters. That's a whole car length, pretty much, right? So that's pretty poor performance. Now, yes, you know, it's a budget car, it's a budget EV and all that, but to be honest, 50 grand is not cheap, right? They could have spent, especially for a wholesaler, right? You could buy these tires for like 100 a piece or less even. So yeah, it's no excuse in my opinion. So if you find a good sale, I highly recommend you upgrade the tires to something touring focused. So that's Michelin Primacy 4s, Bridgestone Turanza T005As, Continental, I think it's like Extreme Contact or Premium Contact or something. Goodyear Efficient Grip Performance too is also really good. So when it comes time to change tires, highly recommend you upgrade. Or you do like me and you just do it now. Yeah, so I've done that. For car washing, you guys might have seen this picture before. I posted on the groups. I use Bowden's own stuff, so the Bowden's own green sucker towel. I use their snow cannon. I use their snow foam. I highly recommend everyone to wash their car at least once every 2 weeks, maybe once every month if there's a water shortage going around. It keeps your paint fresh, keeps the windows clean. Most importantly, it keeps gunk out of like under the wheel wells, in between the brakes and all that. So I highly recommend that. And I also have an OBD2 head-up display, so I'm not sure if this is easy to see. So basically, in my line of sight here, I look down ever so slightly, I see my speed, which is very cool. This information is fed from basically where this is being fed from. So if this shows 10, that'll show 10. It's 1 for 1. Very accurate, very nice. And more importantly, this brightness of this little screen adjusts based on the ambient brightness. And it adjusts every 1 second, I believe. So if you go in a tunnel, it'll dim down right away. Really cool. It cost me about 35 bucks. I believe now it's closer to 50 with increased pricing and also shipping costs as well. Where does that plug into? So that plugs into basically, it looks like this. It's a little white port. If you put your head down below the steering wheel, so basically on the driver's side carpet area, and look up, you'll see this as well. It's basically quite a standardized port throughout the auto industry. Plug and play, really. So yeah. Let's have a look. Someone said something. Hi mate, how often do you charge? Do you drive less? Do you drive to less than 10% every 6 months, or charge 100% as per user manual? Do you know what the purpose of doing this is? I use a granny charger. Okay, so how often do I charge? So, right, so the BYD Atto 3 uses something called an LFP battery. So it's a lithium ion phosphate, I believe. Obviously, that probably doesn't mean much to you, but what this means is the battery chemistry, unlike batteries that use cobalt and some other metals, it's less prone to, I guess, capacity issues if you repeatedly charge to 100%. So if we take, for example, the Tesla Model 3 long range, so whopping big battery, right? But Tesla recommends you only charge it to, I believe, 80-85% for daily use, and only 100% for long road trips. Now, the reason they recommend that is because the more you charge it to 100%, the less the total capacity will be for the battery. Now, LFP batteries they do still experience this, don't get me wrong. It's not completely non-existent, but it's significantly less prone to this type of wear. So with that in mind, I do try to charge the car to 100%, pretty much as much as I can. I use a 16 amp portable charger at home. So instead of the granny charger, I use something twice as powerful. It charges the car to full in, I believe, about 20 hours or so. I also have solar at home as well, so I try to charge it during the day if I'm working at home. Now, yes, the user manual does say you should try to discharge it to empty and charge it to full in about, I believe it's 3 months, not 6 months, but I could be wrong. You do want to do that for a different reason, right? So even though the battery itself is okay, in order for the car's computer to give you a correct reading of the battery, you do want to do something called calibrating the battery management system, the BMS. Now, say you only drive, I don't know, 10% of the battery every day, and you charge the car every day. So you're going 100%, 90, 100, 90, 100, 90. Now, over time, even though the true capacity of the battery doesn't change much, the battery management software, unfortunately, sees the battery capacity a bit differently because with the way it's designed and chemistry and all that, it gets inaccurate. So what this happens is, eventually it'll be so inaccurate that, for example, you do run it down to say 20% one day, but because the BMS is hella out of calibration, 20% to you, 20% to the car might actually be 0% in real life. So basically it'll go 30, 29, 28, whatever, 21, 20, and then suddenly the car dies. So that's the kind of situation you want to avoid by calibrating the battery. So I'm pretty sure it's 3 months. So every 3 months, or within a 3-month time span, you do want to discharge it to as low as you comfortably can and recharge it to 100% if you can. So this allows the battery management software to go, okay, this is the lower limit, that's the upper limit, to give you a proper range reading. Now, we know that the car currently only gives you a static reading of 100% equals 480 kilometers, which is quite misleading because, one, not everyone can achieve that. Two, some people might even achieve more if you drive even more efficiently. The Chinese version of the Atto 3 does have adaptive software, so it gives you a range readout based on your actual consumption. I hope we get that soon. I'm not sure why we don't have that. I assume it's because it's trying to calculate it based on the CLTC cycle. Probably something related to that when we use WLTP, I believe. So I'm not sure of exactly the reasoning, but I'm confident it'll come to us in the future. Gene says 235/50 i18 is an equal size option and will fit on existing rims. Yes, that's correct. So I probably should change it back to this one. So yes, so the BYD Atto 3 in other countries come with 235/50 R18 dimension tires already, so 100% it'll fit. Yeah, I wouldn't go any wider. Like, I'm pretty sure you can't go 240 or 245. It'd be too wide. So 235 is a sweet spot in my opinion. You could go 235/45 for a slightly thinner sidewall, but then your speedometer will be, actually I think it'll be more accurate. So right now it's about 3 or 4 kilometers overshooting. So if you do make the sidewalls thinner, it'll be slightly more accurate. But with a thinner sidewall, you get less insulation, you get a slightly harsher ride, and also less protection if you hit a pothole. So I recommend you sticking to 235/50. Yeah. Less accurate. Yeah. Let me think. I'm trying to do the maths in my head. I thought if the sidewalls were thinner, it'd be more accurate, but because it would show slower than what you're actually going. Is that? I don't know, but this is all on the internet. Getting a bit confused. Yeah. Sorry, yeah, under reports. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, that makes sense. I just said it wrong. Sorry, my bad. What else did I talk about? There's not much else, I think. Oh yes, so if you do want to adjust, so some people have crooked instrument clusters. What you can do is slide the cover off behind the screen and get the right tool to twist these, and then just adjust it yourself. Ignore this one, that's not important. So these 2 screws, you can loosen it and then adjust it and then tighten it. So there's something to know. Yes, G makes a good point, because if you have a smaller tire, that means you're traveling even less distance, correct? Than if you had bigger tires. So actually, yes, it will be like you'll be going like 96 or 95 when you're going 100 on a smaller tire. Is that how it works? I think so, right? Because the circumference is smaller. So yeah, that's a good point. Oh, I should probably also mention that I have my BYD Atto 3 on a novated lease. So what this basically means is part of my salary comes out of, well, gets taken out first, pays this, and then I pay less tax basically. So talk to your employer. If they offer salary sacrificing, or it's otherwise known as salary packaging, I believe, and ask them if they offer novated lease for vehicles. Highly recommend you at least check out this route of buying the car. So basically, I'm paying, I believe, $250 every week. So this includes the car itself, any charging costs, registration, insurance, maintenance, servicing, even my tires. I can claim it back and get reimbursed. So $250 for 3 years. I'll just do some maths here. So $250 a week. So after 3 years, I'll be paying $39,000. But there is a $23,000 residual at the end. So at the end, I would have paid 62 grand. However, this is not including. I'll be saving around $5,000 in tax. So over 3 years, probably $15,000. So at the end of my lease, I would have paid 47 grand for a car. That's, let's say, I think it was 49 grand, or minus 6 grand for the Queensland government rebate. Although I think it's like 51 grand now, isn't it? So for a 45 grand car, and because I'm under 25, my insurance is pretty expensive. So we're talking about $2,000 a year in insurance. So over 3 years would have been $6,000. Registration in Queensland is about, I think, $750 now, or is it $800? So we'll just do 2 grand as well over 3 years, right? 2 grand. That's a pretty conservative figure. Charging costs, I'm doing about $120 a month, so $1,400 a year, so about $2,800, so about $4,000 in charging over 3 years, another $4,000. Servicing, we're talking, I don't know, probably $200 a year, so we'll just do $600 as a conservative figure. I swapped tires out for $1,000. So as you can see, I'm paying 47 grand for 58 grand worth of costs over 3 years. So if you can do novated leasing, highly recommend you check out this route. It's very, very interesting. Jackie says, sorry, Mr. Before, what is the use case of speed limit warning? There's not really much use, but let's go back to this real quick. So let's just go back here. Pull this back up. Oh, sorry. Cool. So speed limit warning. Where was that? I believe it's in ADAS, isn't it? Yes. So speed limit warning. Is this what we're talking about, or is it different option that you're talking about? It could be in the reminders section, maybe. This one? No, there's supposed to be a warning here, so it's got to be this one then. Okay. So, intelligent speed limit control. So, as Gene said earlier, so basically, this first option, along with the ISLI sensitivity, but it should be ISLC. Say you leave it at 10, you turn this on. Say you're currently cruising at 60 km an hour, you hit a highway on ramp. There's a setting of max 120 kilometers. I'm not too sure where that is. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Sorry. Notification. Oh, right. Here we go. Speed warning. Yeah, sure. This one. Yeah. Yeah, I have no idea what it does, but as Gene said, it possibly beeps at you when you're going over 120, because that's, although it should be 130, because that's the highest speed limit in Australia. I believe in rural Northern Territory, the speed limit is 130. So, yeah, I'm not too sure what it does. Sorry. You can set it. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I don't think the car's going to 240 k's an hour, so this probably just makes the instrument cluster beep at you and flash at you if you're going over a certain speed limit, but yeah, it's not great. I did a test the other day of driving 50 kilometers, starting 100% battery. The info on the small screen, battery percentage and range remaining indicated 14.5 kilowatts to 100. However, yeah, that's right. So the current range estimator is not incredibly useful if you're driving on highways, because obviously you're not getting 480 kilometers of range on the highway. That's yeah, that's that's just not realistic. Um, yeah. Um, yeah, I think that's about it. Does anyone have any other questions that they want answered? While we're here, I do have one interesting bit of news to share with everyone. So, let's have a look. So, currently, there's a deal going around where you can get the NRMA Blue subscription for free for 12 months. Um, Now, why is that important? It's because you can go to Bow Repairs. I might be butchering the name, but basically it gives you a ton of discounts on tire related things. So tire purchase, free puncture repairs, free rotations, whatever. Matthew says, sorry, another question regarding charging. Can I also plug a 16 amp charger into a normal power point? What do I need to? Okay, so this entirely depends on the current amperage rating of your power point. So obviously, if you plug a 16 amp into a 10 amp, it's not going to work, right? Um, what it will do is probably run at like 9 amps or something, but you won't get the full 16 amps. So I have a 20 amp plug installed on my driveway, and I use a 60 amp charger for that. So you probably will need a Sparky to get a special power point installed. It cost me about $400, so pretty reasonable, I think. Manny asks, will you be talking about steering wheel controls? Yes, I do have steering wheel controls. Sorry, I have talked about it, but as I mentioned earlier, the person who wrote this program is not willing to translate it to English. He thinks it's too much work for what it's worth. So I'll probably just do a video myself with like a proper in-depth guide, with like a legend to translate all this language, because obviously for most of you here it probably is quite meaningless. So I will just do a quick recap. You can change the mode button, so the bottom right of the steering wheel. You can change the previous and next song button as well. You can change the screen rotation button. You can change the voice command button. You can change the mute button. You can make it so if you put the car into drive, park, or when you start the car, it does an action. You can attach a sound effect to drive, park, neutral, reverse, turning left, turning right, hazard lights, I believe. Or you can even make the car play a noise when it's doing the automatic emergency braking. I'm not sure why you want to do that. So it is quite customizable. So I think I probably will be making a guide myself in the future. Not pro, but say okay. I think you mean like what can you do with the mode button? So single press, double press, you can change. I'll just read here. So first one is default. Second one is open the AC menu. Third one is open the. It's just set AC settings. This one is to open or close a particular app. This one is to take a screenshot. This one is to activate voice assistant. This one is to change the mode. This one is to mute the sound, play pause music, go back to home screen. This one is using the Android function, go back to previous app. This one is you can write your own voice command. This one is windscreen defrost, and this one is go back. So that's kind of all the options you have. So you can do open close app. Yeah. Which fuse to pull to disable driving lights when camping? Sorry, Tarwood, I don't have that information for you. I'm not too sure, mate. Sorry. I've been using a 10 amp to 15 amp adapter. Oh, I'm not sure if that works. And Gene brings up a good point. Yeah, so there's actually two differences. One difference, sorry, between the displays of the average energy consumption. So just something to keep in mind. Jackie says the 16 amp domestic charger I bought from Taobao comes with an adapter. It does charge up to 10 amps on the GPU and draw 3.1 kilowatts, but not recommended. Yeah, you definitely don't want to use like a 16 amp charger on a 10 amp unless you can adjust it to make it 10 amps or 8 amps or whatever. But yeah, you definitely don't want to burn the port because due to lack of sufficient wiring or whatever. I'm just gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. Cool. And just while everyone's here, I will be going to the Noosa EV Expo tomorrow. It's my first time going, so very excited. And I'll also be at the BYD Dolphin launch at SeaWorld for any Southeast Queensland viewers. So, John says, do you have to use a Windows computer to download apps to your USB before transferring to the BYD? I only have a Mac. No, you can use a Mac just fine. Although I believe when you format the USB on a Mac, it does something funky, so you might want to use a Windows computer if you can, but I think a Mac works as well. But as long as you structure it properly with a third-party apps folder, I think it should be fine. Jackie and Xiaohu, yep, Xiaohui. Manny says, when I change radio stations, rather than only selecting my preferred stations, it scrolls through all the stations. Yeah, right. I don't use the radio. I actually have the whole app uninstalled from my car. I don't use the radio at all. So, yeah, that's very interesting to learn. Wow, that's pretty bad programming, I must say. Alright, well, just trying to think of anything else that I can talk about. Uh, um, yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, so if anyone has some seat noise when braking, can't say I've experienced that. Sorry. Um, yeah, I haven't experienced that. um, oh, I guess since it's not a very big crowd, I think it's a good opportunity to talk about the intelligent cruise control steering function. So as some of you may or may not be aware, actually our cars are capable of complete hands-free driving on the highway. So what this means is, it's a bit hard to explain without actually doing it and showing you in person, but effectively it allows you to go on a straight or a relatively straight stretch of road, such as the freeway or highway, motorway. Um, you activate cruise control first, and then you activate the self-steering thing, and then you let your hands go off the wheel. So that's really important. So you have to take your hands off the wheel, and then after about 10 seconds, the car will start beeping at you. So on the fourth or fifth beep, I think fourth to be safe, you turn off the self-steering function, and then when the beeping stops, so after the last beep, you turn the steering back on. So now the car will keep steering, but don't touch the wheel. Then the car will maintain the self-steering function. I wrote some notes down, so I'll just copy paste it to everyone. Oh, I actually don't have it copied down. But basically, you can then just travel without touching the steering wheel, which is really cool. I drove to Byron Bay and back recently in early May. On the highway, I basically didn't touch it for the whole trip. Yeah. Jackie says, I notice when I make a turn, I feel click sound. That could be the steering wheel. The mechanism that turns the indicators off when you turn back. Yeah, so even when you don't use the indicator, I think it still makes that noise sometimes. That's pretty typical of a car, I believe. But if you think it's really bad, probably do take it to the dealership to get checked. Yeah, for sure. Oh, I could probably talk about the dash cam that I use in the car. If I find a picture of that. Will you be swapping out your Atto 3 for the Dolphin or Seal? So, the Atto 3 was obviously not. So, SUV, crossovers, anything raised is not really my preference. However, so I have the Atto 3 on a novated lease for 3 years. So after that, I'll probably just pay out the residual and give it to mum or dad to drive. I don't like SUVs, right? They're really tall, they're really wallowy. They're less efficient than a hatchback, than a sedan. I don't need all the space, it's just me. But I bought it so that my parents can get into EV eventually. I won't be swapping it out for a Dolphin or a Seal. Depending on the price of the Dolphin, I probably will convince mum and dad to just buy it outright and get the rebate from the government. $6,000 is pretty good. And then the Atto 3 will just simply add to their fleet once my lease is up. However, I definitely will be leasing a Seal once that comes out. Kind of irrespective of the price of the Seal, because I really do like the car. And judging by the pictures that I see from the New Zealand BYD page. I'm just pulling it up now on my phone. Um, so I can see the driver's seat immediately has four-way lumbar adjustment. So it probably has a tilt adjustment as well. Most likely has memory seating too, so it has tons more features than Atto 3. I like a sedan. My other car is a 2019 Mazda 3. It's very comfortable cruiser. It's pretty quick. The tech is good. So definitely I'll be getting a seal, but I won't be replacing my Atto 3 anytime soon. No. I do share it between my parents, depending on if I'm at home or if if um if they need to use it for, I don't know, a quick trip to the shops or something. So yeah. But I definitely won't be swapping it out for the next 3 years. Yeah. But I most likely will be adding a seal to my fleet. Although, if they do price it above a Tesla Model 3, I'll probably have to think about it a little bit harder, because as good as it is, I don't think I'll be paying more than a Tesla for a BYD, unfortunately. Now that's not to say I'm gonna then go to buy a Tesla, because I wouldn't anyway. I think the interior of the Model 3 is, it looks nice, but it's not user friendly. I don't like how everything's on the screen. I don't like how there's no speedometer, there's no head-up display. I don't like how the seat's not perforated. I don't like frameless windows. It sounds cheap. It sounds nasty. When you close the door, the whole car vibrates. It's terrible. Not to mention the big tires, thin rims on the Model 3. The ride is harsher. Like, the car is of course lightning quick, even on the long range model. But I think we're not on a racetrack, right? We're like, I prefer a comfortable cruiser. So something with thicker tires, smaller rims, not as much speed. I don't. 7 seconds on the Atto 3 is plenty quick in my opinion. So, yeah. So, Seal is looking really good. I hope the price starts from. I'm gonna say starts from the mid 50,000s, and it's probably gonna top out at the high, probably 70s, maybe low 80,000s. So looking at the brochure again, so in New Zealand for the BYD Seal, they'll be getting 3 models. Oh, excuse me. Let me try and pull this up for you guys so you can see. How can I pull it up? Sorry, I need to log into iCloud to download the photos here so you guys can see. Because otherwise it's just me talking about it and there's no reference, so it's not great. So, sorry, 1 second. Cool. So if I download this, download. Okay, excellent. Here we go. And if I just do this, cool. Can you guys see this? So I asked the question, can you take a close-up of the brochure instead? So here's what they get, right? I'm surprised they haven't talked about this on social media. This is really big news. It's really sad that I have to break it. But so we're looking at the dynamic, premium, and performance. Obviously, in Australia, it's probably going to be called something absolutely bizarre, like standard plus, and performance or whatever. So as you can see, the car is 4.8 meters long. For reference, how big is that? Let's have a look. Tesla Model 3 length. So Tesla Model 3 is 4.7 meters long. So this thing is a little bit bigger than a Model 3, which is very interesting. A Model 3 is also 1.85 meters wide. The Seal is 1.87 meters wide, and Model 3 is 1.44 meters tall. Seal is 1.46. So this is one size bigger in every dimension than a Model 3, which is very interesting. The wheelbase now is the interesting one. Model 3 wheelbase is 2.85 meters, 87, sorry. Seal is, 2.9 meters, so that's a pretty big difference. 10 centimeters or 10. But yeah, so there should be way more interior space on the Seal, but obviously we'll have to see when we test it out. Battery size is very interesting. So it seems like the dynamic model is basically the same as what we have for our Atto 3. So roughly 60 kilowatt hour battery, 150 kilowatt motor, 310 newtons of torque. However, they don't mention it here, but this is rear wheel drive. Right? They do it here. So this car will probably handle a lot better, be a bit better around corners, be a bit more stable, less wheel slip, all that. So should be pretty interesting. Obviously the range is a bit lower than the 480 claim because the car is a bit heavier, I assume. So, and then so we can get the premium rear wheel drive with the bigger 82 kilowatt hour battery and a much powerful motor. So 230. So personally, I'm hoping the premium model, this one, will come with all the features, and that the performance model is just for the extra motor and power. So as you can see, they have the same battery. So I'm personally wanting this model here, rear wheel drive, because I don't need all wheel drive, right? I'm not going on a racetrack. I'm not going in the rain. I'm not going in the snow. So this is the exact spec that I want, assuming it's got all the features. Because look, you even get more range from this, right? So even though it's the same battery, because the performance all-wheel drive model has way more power, it's obviously less efficient, so it's less range as well. So I'm personally hoping for the rear-wheel drive, yeah, 82 kilowatt battery, single motor with all the features, hopefully. So that's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, pretty cool. And the colors, as you can see, are Cosmos Black, Aurora White, Grey, and Blue. Although the picture's kind of shit. So someone on WeChat just added me asking about lane keeping, the fourth warning in the lane keeping menu. So we'll just quickly go back. Lane keeping, the fourth one. So it'll be. Cool. Thanks for coming in, MP. Cheers. We'll go back to this for now. Yeah, so it's coming in 4 colors, which is they're all pretty bland. There's no red, there's no green, there's no like teal blue or anything, so it's not as exciting as Atto 3 colors for sure, but I guess they're trying to target a different market with this one, so that's fine. But yeah, it's overall looking to be a pretty good offering. Fingers crossed that the premium rear-wheel drive model gets all the features for me. Anyone else here considering a seal? Just out of curiosity, because I'm sure this is going to sell better than the Model 3 over time. I mean, the Atto 3 is already selling than the Model 3. It is already selling better than the Model 3, sorry. Couple of years, yeah, true. This is going to be pretty expensive, and who knows? Yeah, maybe in a couple of years, you know, EV Direct doesn't exist, or BYD stops selling cars here. Who knows? Yeah. Jackie says, "Thanks, mate. Are you going to post the theme app details here?" I will be posting. So basically, I've put all these apps into one directory on my iCloud drive, and then I'll just share the link with everybody, so you can go into it, download it, do whatever you want. Thanks, Matthew. Thanks for coming by. Really appreciate it. Yeah, I think it'll depend entirely on like what options they include as standard. Because obviously, if they include even everything on the lower model, they'll be like, oh, our car's got head-up display, sunroof, heated cooled seats, so that's why we're charging, I don't know, 65 grand, right? I can see EV Direct pulling that off, entirely possible. Yep. Um, but then again, on the flip side, as you might know, some brands do like, oh, our car starts from, 59,990, but then you get like absolutely no features. So they make a car to that price point just to put on the ad. So hopefully that's the case, but yeah, who knows? Um, I I think them stuffing in more features into the base model and upping the price, because BYD is a premium manufacturer. It's not the same as a Tesla. You can't compare it to. Well, I don't think I don't think it's up to you guys to tell the market what to compare it to or not. Yeah, for a distributor that's so bad at communicating and and actually rolling out a proper competitive car buying experience, um, yeah, they have some pretty big balls to say that they don't want to be a budget brand because everything they're doing right now screams budget, in my opinion. Very budget. Yeah, so in the span of the next, I believe, 3 or 5 years, they're thinking of releasing a Ute, another SUV, some plug-in hybrids or something. So yeah, I think right now I would think we are currently in the. It's like we're in the 2008 era when the iPhone was first released, right? It's very new. It's very interesting technology. It's groundbreaking. It's like I'm talking about the EV market as a whole. Like right now, like moving forward from now, EV production, advancement, innovation, technology, everything will just exponentially increase. I think. So yeah, certainly waiting if you can is the smart move. Um, yeah, definitely. Yeah, we certainly do need more competition. I mean, right now we've got what BYD, MG, and Tesla, right? Hyundai with a Kona, but Kona is pretty expensive. Nissan Leaf is a bit old, so um, no one's buy that anymore. Thanks, Manny. You're welcome, mate. Yeah. Um, I'm hoping the Dolphin to be sub $45,000, because at least in Queensland it would mean that the car can be had for less than 40 grand. So now we're getting into like Toyota Corolla territory. Um, Obviously 45 grand starting price is a little bit optimistic probably, but I'm still hoping for it. I hope they release a bargain basement spec with no sunroof, manual seats. Make it what people want, make it affordable so more people can have it. That will bring brand awareness, brand recognition. It'll put them on the spotlight, right? So, but who knows? With EV Direct in there, oh, we're not a budget brand nonsense. So we'll see. So JC on WeChat asks me, how do you dollar? Let me just clarify what this means. Um, so someone was just asking how to turn off, I think the navigation sound. Um, okay, so I don't use the navigation thing, so it might be a bit hard for me to show this, but so I believe that they're talking about the native navigation. You just go into it, and then you turn off. Hold on a second. Let me just. Thanks, John. See you later, mate. Um. Okay. I think I found what they're looking for. So basically, you go vehicle setting, system settings. Sorry, audio, and you want to turn off guidance volume. So 你把这个 guidance volume 调到0就可以关掉了。如果我没听错的话。Cool. Um. Um. Okay. I think that about concludes the stream. Thanks everyone for coming. And if you have any other questions, always happy to be tagged in a Facebook post or comment. Yeah, and I'll do my best to answer everyone's questions. Otherwise, I'll see some of you in the afternoon stream if you're tuning back in. Otherwise, yeah, I'll see you on the Facebook groups. Thanks, everyone.